Welcome back to part 2 of King's X month. Yes, I'm wearing the exact same thing because yes, I'm recording all of these on the same day. So let's move a little bit further in their discography. After Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, they released their third album, Faith, Hope and Love, in 1990. But for me, my actual personal favourite album of theirs is not this one or any of the other ones. It's one that I feel is a little overlooked in their discography, a little underrated, an underrated album for an underrated band. It's actually their self-titled in 1992. What I love about this album is that it's very transitional. It's got the jangly 80s aspects and sound of their earlier previous albums, such as Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, but while moving more into the darker, heavier, and albeit more straightforward songwriting of their later stuff throughout the 90s and onwards. So you get these moments where you get these, distinctly jangly, gospel-flavoured hard rock songs interspersed with because they had some heavy aspects before, but they dial up the heaviness and the darkness of some of these tracks quite dramatically. And you can also see as well the shift as well into the distinctly 90s sound, with the more grunge had already exploded at this point, and them trying to, they had their influence on the genre already, and it's them trying to fit in their place within it. And with that, we get an album that melds the best of those two sounds together. This is like a 9.5 for me out of 10. They are just remarkably consistent, and I mean, they've had dips here and there, but they have a distinct sound, and they just have this knack for just making damn near perfect songs. I genuinely don't know how else to just put it. It's like genuinely damn near perfect. So starting off this album with The World Around Me, immediately you're thrust into the action, this hard-hitting riff that, just it's chunky, it's groovy, with a little bit of odd note choices in there that, make you go like, oh, it's a little interesting. Sort of that thinking outside of the box ever so slightly that they just do so well. And again, really just picks up the energy, gets you hyped for this, with this album. I beg your pardon. Yes, The World Around Me. So this is just shy of 3 minutes, gets right into the action, it's fun, it's groovy, it's got a great riff. It gives the vibe of like you've opened up sort of this Pandora's box almost, and you're thrust into the action, and it's just time to go. But then following that is track 2, Prisoner. So this is one that leans a little bit more into sort of the earlier jangly stuff. The blending of the acoustic guitar strumming in the intro with the electric guitar chimey arpeggios, before then leading into, again, these, the dense vocal harmony layers in the choruses and the hook, which just beef out this, deep, dense, just wall of sound that you just sink into, and it's just this powerful, strong, and yes. So I mentioned in the previous video about guitarist Ty Tabor, his vocal style, his voice has kind of a John Lennon-esque quality to it, and there's certainly quite strong Beatles influence in a lot of their work. And can certainly be heard quite clearly in some songs on this album, in particular track 3, The Big Picture. You've got these moments where it's just this slow, plodding, but just with this grand orchestration behind it. They do flesh out their instrumentation with a little extra stuff, like there's aspects of sitar, strings orchestration, and keyboards here and there as well. And those strings as well, it really gives you that kind of later era Beatles vibes, especially on this track, especially when it's these slow, plodding, orchestral choruses, while Doug is just wailing away on these ad-libs in this super distorted vocal tone that he's got on his microphone, like he's singing through a megaphone, sort of singing over this like army procession almost. That's kind of how it feels, but also lyrically touching upon kind of higher power and that kind of stuff, and you know, wanting to see the bigger picture. Then following that is one of their most well-known songs, Lost in Germany. The opening riff of this is just one of their most iconic ones. It's super just angular and technical, but while still having that strong sense of groove. And again, there's a lot of the distinct kind of, you know, Christian imagery and stuff that's kind of alluded to in their lyrics, but while still using it as like metaphors for something a little bit more, say, grounded about kind of, you know, lost in Germany, say someone who's like holiday on vacation and, you know, in a foreign land and trying to make their way through, and kind of equating that to sort of an almost biblical journey through, you know, stuff. I know I'm not doing a good job of explaining things, but that's why I call these videos album glazings, because I can't call them proper reviews because it's just me gushing over them. But yeah, it's angular and pointy in just the right places while still having that familiarity and those hooks that really bring you in and keep you coming back, keeps it, you know, circulating around your head all day. At least it does with me. Then moving past that, track 5, Chariot Song. This is really where this fusion of both aspects of their career come together. You get these fast-paced intro guitars that feel like, oh, it's a good groovy, you know, chugging along kind of thing, and quite similar to some of the, you know, aspects they had on their previous album, Faith, Hope and Love. But then when the choruses and the pre-choruses come in, it suddenly just becomes super heavy and deep, and I'm pretty sure, I've tested my ear with this, I think Ty, or at least they've tuned down to drop B for this track, which, for just the general sound of their music, it's like drop D kind of suits it. It has that little like low down edge to it, but then they started tuning down lower, and now you've got, again, a song in drop B. I know this was 1992, so it's not super early, but still, it's pretty early for like tuning that low, and still, but it's just so like insane. It just practically comes out of nowhere where you've just got this, again, a jangly sounding, you know, verses, but then these slow, sludgy, almost doomy sounding choruses with just like super low tuned guitars for this sound, and it's this super dynamic shifting back and forth, and it's one of my favourite songs on the album, and makes this one of the reasons this album is one of my favourites. It's just such a powerful song that, you know, contrasts this sort of light sound of the verses to this really dark sound of the choruses, and then they shift to that darker sound into next track, Ooh Song. They're not tuned as low, I think drop C sharp, so just a whole step up from drop B, but still fairly low, and it's just got this dark, plodding, I know I keep using the word foreboding way too much in these videos, but that's just kind of the best way I can describe. It's just got this, you know, dark groove to it, this menace, and just like that like building riff, and even in like just the verses where it's just very simple, just that, you know, third fret to open fret, and it's just the groove. No wonder they later did a song literally called Groove Machine. Groove. Then after that, track 7, Not Just for the Dead. I dare say this is one of my favourite songs of theirs, full stop. It's definitely got that Beatles edge to it, similar to The Big Picture, but kind of more of that, it's very distinctly kind of Revolver era Beatles in a way. It's got that sitar and this, you know, a lot of dense layering of different instruments here and there. Epic sounding song. It starts off with Ty singing the verses, and then when the chorus is hit, where Doug Pinnick takes the lead and sings these just soaring lines that are then supported by Ty and drummer Jerry on the backing vocals behind it. It's just such an epic song. I just don't know how else to describe it. It's just so distinctly powerful and emotive and uplifting in just every which way you can. You know, it's so good. Following that is track 8, What I Know About Love. I'd say if I had to pick my least favourite song on the album, it's probably this one. It's certainly good in its own right, but it's not one I often find myself coming back to distinctly, especially when the one right after this is Black Flag. So this was basically the big single from this album, and again, just distinctly their groovy use of drop D tuning and the layered vocal harmonies and that. It's a bit more of a straightforward song from them, but kind of shifting more towards sort of the later career that they went down after this. But it's still certainly a great song, and that riff alone will just be, again, that's going to be an earworm for ages for you as soon as you listen to it. Especially that hook of just the main lyric of Black Flag. The album continues on for another couple tracks, but I think as a whole I've probably said enough. Hopefully I've sold this album to whoever watches this, if anyone does. Yeah, it may not be everyone's favourite King's X album, but for me it is. And it has that dynamic, that fusion, the heaviness, while also a bit of the light as well in there, and it's just such a fun, good time. He's good. He's so good. Yes. Yeah. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. This is part 2 of King's X week done, and we've got one more to go next week. And if you know King's X, you could probably guess which album it's going to be. And I will say this, that album, while it may not be a personal favourite, it's still up there. It's a close second because it is a perfect 10, genuinely. Fight me. It's a perfect album, but I'll have to wait for then. And I'll see you next week. See you then. Au revoir.